Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, sir and madam. My name is Lydia Wulanastri, and allow me to present our paper titled Supply Chain Incentive of Businesses Adopting Zero-Waste Box Stores, an Alternative Distribution System. We are undergraduate management students from the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. Waste continues to become one of the world's growing issues, and one major source of it is consumer products. Meanwhile, the effort to solve this problem has only been heavily focused on the consumer or individual side. Out of the various aspects of operational management for businesses, though not one that gives the most amount of environmental and societal impacts, product packaging is one of the easiest aspects to be worked on around its sustainability. One of the efforts done to do that is the resurgence of no packaging stores, more commonly known as zero-waste box stores. Products sold in this type of stores are offered in bulk instead of packaged with plastic, paper, or other packaging materials in single consumption quantities for retail. Simultaneously, consumers are encouraged to bring their own reusable containers to buy the products in the amount that they need. In such a manner, there will be less amount of single-use packaging being thrown away. Apart from being related to the aspect of packaging, retail management as such is part of operations management, in particular, distribution management's outbound flow of products to consumers. Zero-waste box stores is also one of the 4 delivery models positively perceived by the public when Greenpeace Indonesia proposed them as an alternative system for consumer product distribution. However, observation done to a zero-waste box store in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, revealed that producers and suppliers of products being sold there are limited to SMEs and local businesses. Meanwhile, large and multinational companies and enterprises that offer products that are more likely to become source of packaging waste and pollution, such as ones named as the top global polluters by Breakthrough from Plastic in 2020, have not yet been found using this distribution system. One of the ways that can be done to identify strategies for further adoption of this system is by investigating the businesses that have adopted the zero-waste box store as one of their distribution methods. At the same time, one method to identify the driving forces behind the decision to put products inside a supply chain is by finding the supply chain incentives, which is also part of supply chain coordination. From the elaboration of this background, this research is aimed to discover how to maximize the adoption of an alternative distribution system with minimal waste, which is the zero-waste box store, in terms of supply chain coordination by exploring the drivers or incentives of companies or businesses that have used this distribution system as a possibility for broader adoption. We conducted a literature review of past studies on this topic. Firstly is a 2017 study by Heinecke et al., which interviewed box store representatives and food supply chain experts in Europe to understand the potential of a no-packaging shopping approach to improve food supply chain's environmental and societal impacts, finding that box stores can influence their suppliers to adapt by implementing reusable packaging practices as well as making the supply chain more transparent. This approach by zero-waste box stores to minimize waste is studied in 2021 by Hawkins, who explored the dynamics in the market about detaching from plastic as a packaging material when plastic's position had shifted from an economic artifact to an issue. Meanwhile, an ethnographic study about the practice of package-free shopping in Sweden is studied by Findes et al. In 2019, which confirmed that packaging is seen as a problematic matter to the extent that it evokes strong negative feelings and causes concerns about waste, making package-free shop customers view the issue of packaging as an issue of waste. Meanwhile, quantitative research has also been done in Europe by Scharpenberg et al. In 2020 by comparing the environmental impacts and benefits of products sold in conventional retail stores with the same ones sold in packaging-free supermarkets. The overall result of the research showed that the most crucial aspects of the positive performance of products sold in packaging-free stores are the short distance expense of transportation for deliveries, the energy from water used for cleaning, and the choice of alternative packaging material used. While packaging materials manufacturing accounts for most of the environmental impacts of their conventionally packaged product counterparts. The 2017 Bateson-Heinecke study also associated the operational model of zero-waste stores with a significant decrease in emissions not only from the store but on the entire supply chain. Many of these previous studies also mentioned the societal impacts of the practice of zero-waste or packaging-free stores, such as food safety, ethical trade and nutrition, as well as food reservations by donating to food banks and employees. Meanwhile, in light of the growing issue of supply chain coordination, companies are said to increasingly need to incorporate operations management considerations related to the factors and structure of their product life cycle through various available mechanisms, according to a 2022 study by Asl Najafi et al. This desk review of the literature around supply chain incentives and the implementation of zero-waste box store systems resulted in 5 categories of incentives that are speculated to arise in the study due to their significance or frequency of appearance around discussion of this topic, which are product life cycle, packaging, emission, waste, and social benefits. This research is an exploratory qualitative study that gathered data through semi-structured interviews with businesses that supply products in one or both of the 2 selected box stores in Jakarta, which are referred to as Peony Eco House. A sample of 14 businesses were obtained, and all interviews were conducted and all data were collected in the Indonesian language, with some translated into English for this reporting. The resulting data was then processed based on the Miles and Huberman qualitative analysis strategy. All informants were owners, founders, and/or team members responsible for sales or business operations. This ensured that the data obtained came from sources that were relevant and appropriate to the research needs. The interviews used an instrument in the form of several written questions as a guideline for the data needed, but the content of the discussion was not limited and the interviewees were freely allowed to provide answers as they are semi-structured. After the interviews were completed, the researcher compiled transcripts of each interview and then conducted a member checking process, which involves taking the reported data back to the interviewees to determine if the data results are accurate. Data processing and analysis were done with the help of NVivo 12 software in conducting the coding and categorization process. Professor Nigel King's template analysis technique was used in conducting the analysis, and during this process, we focused on the facts and opinions conveyed by the interviewees without analyzing the manner or context of their delivery. Apart from the primary data of interview transcripts, additional information in the form of secondary data was also obtained from websites, social media, or stock files regarding company profiles or product catalogs that were either available online or were shared by the interviewees. Data analysis began with recognizing the supply chain process of businesses supplying in zero-waste box stores, using the classification of 3 supply chain macro processes according to Chopra as the initial template. With that said, part of the macro supply chain process is the consideration of distribution channels and points of sale, including supply chain incentives that are defined in this research. Using the 5 speculated categories as the initial template for this analysis, it is found that there is a varying degree of relevance for each category regarding their pertinence as a supply chain incentive. Of the 14 businesses interviewed, only 1 business mentioned the influence of the product's early-stage positioning and introduction to consumers on the decision to supply the product at a zero-waste box store. This contrasts with research by Asl Najafi on differences in sell business strategies based on different phases of the product life cycle. On the other hand, some businesses reported that there is an influence of packaging factors in the decision to cooperate with a zero-waste box store, such as businesses supporting and appreciating box stores that pay attention to packaging after the product is sold and implementing a no packaging bank system, or they're comparing it with conventional packaging due to lower costs because less packaging is used. These considerations show the perspective of the producer side regarding the fulfillment of overall waste reduction efforts using less material in packaging products from Yamaguchi and Takeuchi's study that examined customers' willingness to pay for such products. At the same time, the finding also shows the support from the producer side for unpackaged box stores that seek to eliminate single-use packaging as studied by Beitzen, Heinecke et al. Though they are finding that stores do not have enough purchasing power to influence the packaging practices of suppliers or manufacturers contradicts the data collected in the study. Meanwhile, there was no discussion of the influence of emissions as factors in the consideration of distribution channels or points of sale, be it zero-waste box stores or other partners. Research by Heinecke, which found that less packaging store operational model can lead to significant emission reductions, was found not to be considered by the businesses in the study in their decision to supply zero-waste box stores. However, a link was found between that consideration with the topic of waste in terms of the value, social spirit, or the realization of waste reduction efforts, with mentions that the businesses were also concerned about waste or showed support for the concept of zero waste box stores that seek to reduce waste generated in day-to-day life, and mentions that working with zero waste box stores is one of the ways they are trying to reduce waste. This finding supports Silva and Paulson's assertion in their study that the end of life of potentially wasteful product packaging has been taken into consideration since the beginning of the development phase, and furthermore shows that the manufacturers or suppliers are also involved in the movement between consumers and the zero-waste box stores to reduce waste through promoting and implementing zero packaging shopping, found by Fuentes et al. Therefore, businesses supplying the zero-waste box stores studied in this research consider waste not as an external consequence but as part of the main flow of their operations, suggesting that there is already behavior that is compatible with the circular economy as described by Hawkins in the 2021 study. The last speculative driver or factor is social benefits, and it was found in this study that some consideration of socio-economic benefits as a basis for their decision to select a zero-waste box store was applied by three companies in this study, or three businesses, which were about how these box stores support and empower small or local businesses through collaborations or service innovations. This finding implies that out, out of the many aspects of social benefits associated with the concept of zero-waste box stores in the literature review, the partnership between businesses and zero-waste box stores in the study only relates to the factor of establishing stronger relationships with small-scale farmers or local and regional suppliers so that market power can be more distributed among market actors found in the study by Beitzen Heinecke. Apart from findings regarding these initial 5 categories, the data also suggests that there are supply chain incentives for businesses to choose zero-waste box stores as distribution channels or points of sales in addition to the initial speculative factors. The findings can be divided into the following 5 categories, which are: first, partnership, relationships, and experience; second is issues, the idealism, lifestyle, trends, and concept of zero-waste box stores; 3 is sales and or distribution partnership system; 4 is products, market, and consumers; and lastly, 5 is business scale and considerations. The first category relates to how the relationships between businesses and box stores are, mostly represented by the owners encouraging the other partner to collaborate. The existence of prioritized either personally, socially, or as customers initiated many of the collaborations studied here. And previous experience between the business and the box store, the concept of zero waste or a packaging store were also mentioned. Regarding the continuation of the partnership, many businesses talked about collaborations that are going well and smoothly. The second category relates to the zero-waste box store concept, as well as the environmental issues that they are addressing, mentioning that they bring something new or offer more than just an economic transitions, existence of eco-friendly or zero-waste lifestyles, also to trends regarding the sales system or types of products offered. Not only from the side of the bookstore, but some businesses also convey the similarity of values or issues that they arise in their own products or their own business line. The third category relates to the cooperation system that encourages businesses to start or continue supplying products at bookstores, such as being approached about starting a partnership or a simple and neat system of cooperation that makes it easier for the business, as well as strategies such as having a place to stock products and making it easier to fulfill orders or to direct customers to the nearest distribution point. The fourth category relates to incentives around the products the business offers and the consumer base or market it is targeting. The criteria of the product being suitable for the store's premises or not yet available in the store, and the high rate of product turnover were some of the factors mentioned. There are also considerations related to consumers in markets such as being able to expand or reach new customers, or that the bookstores already have a name and consumer, meaning that they can also conduct market tests there. The fifth and final category relates to the incentives based on business considerations and business scale. The data shows business considerations in terms of operations, such as storage methods, ease of transportation, and reduction in working time. Financial considerations such as continuity of sales and income, and strategic considerations such as available opportunities and the scale of the business intended to be implemented or maintained. We've reached the conclusion of this research. The study aims to identify supply chain incentives that drive businesses' implementation of an alternative distribution system, zero-waste box stores. The literature review established 5 speculated categories of incentives that were used as initial reference, but the result of the data collection and processing showed that only these 2 proved to be significant incentives, packaging and waste. The other 2 categories of product life cycle and social benefits were only identified by a minority of the businesses studied as being relevant to the research purpose, while the 5th category, mentioned, was not found to be referenced at all as a supply chain incentive for supplying products in zero-waste box stores. This could mean 2 things, which is businesses do not yet understand the concept of emissions in a business context, and or businesses do not consider emissions in a business context due to the small or slow scale of their business production. In addition to the identification of incentives based on preliminary predictions, this research eventually identified new categories of supply chain incentives regarding distribution and sales cooperation with zero-waste box stores, in addition to those found in the previous literature review. The incentives identified according to the previous 5 can also be included among these 5 newly discovered ones. For example, incentives from the packaging category include business support for no packaging shopping, which can be categorized under the second newly found category, which is issues, idealism, lifestyle, trend, and concepts of zero-waste box stores, as selling and buying without packaging is a concept of zero-waste box stores. These fairly broad categories of incentives indicate that the supply chain incentives identified from the sample businesses studied are quite diverse, both between and within categories. It was found that there is a mix of incentives based on business considerations such as operational, marketing, and financial strategies, and incentives based on concepts that support business activities to take place, such as the value the company brings to the relations and experience between parties in the supply chain. The outcomes of this study can provide theoretical and practical implications. The theoretical implications are related to the development of knowledge around about the supply chain process involving a supply chain actor that seeks to eliminate one artifact from shopping practices, which is packaging. While the practical implication concerns the selection of distribution and sales channels by businesses and the selection of products and suppliers by zero-waste box stores. The diversity of incentives as a driving factor for the selection of distribution channels and the inclusion of products in the sales model indicates that diverse and comprehensive consideration should be made by both the businesses and as product suppliers and by the zero-waste bulk stores as distributors. That is all from us. Thank you.